Hashtag T2P, come and take a sip of the thought with me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Look, look, did it scare you, Jayla?
No.
Look, because I really didn't realize that the music was that loud until I had a guest on like a couple of weeks ago, and I hit the intro, and they were like, "Wait, what's happening? Like, what's going on?" So I just wanted to make sure I didn't scare you. Just wanted to make sure I did scare you. But good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Thought to Ponder. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest this morning. I have Jayla Slyvester this morning. Everybody say hello, hi, give us some hearts, give us some likes, and share, and all of that good stuff. And this morning, it's going to be a good morning. We're going to talk about some things. Jayla had a PSA dropped, and trying to stop saying dropped, but had a PSA that premiered on last week, and we want to talk about that. But we also want to talk about where Jayla is now, what Jayla is doing, and then also being a Black trans woman. We want to talk about all of those things this morning. So sit back, relax, get your coffee. Jayla says she got hers. I got mine. We're going to be ready this morning. Look, okay, we're going to be ready this morning. And then we're going to go ahead and get into it. But ladies and gentlemen, like, share. Make sure that you are letting everybody know. With that, we are also broadcasting on the Normal Anomaly as well. So please go to there. Also like the pages. Come on, follow us. Make sure you know what's going on in the now. And with that, so Jayla, we normally start off, but I just want to give you a moment real quick here to just give us something this morning. How you feeling this morning?
Oh my God. I am a mix and a ball of excitement. I have not been to sleep yet. I was
okay.
in sharing some really good news with a friend of mine and encouraging each other. And that took up the majority of my night. So I didn't even go to sleep. But it was good. It was just what I needed before I said my prayers and started my day. So yes.
Indeed. Now that part right there, I love that. I love that. You better go ahead on and be there for the people. That's what I'm talking about. I normally do the same thing, and I wake up in the morning and be like, ugh. But it was worth it. It was worth it. It was good and all that good stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So like I said, I want you all to share, like. Good morning. Good morning, EJ Love. Good morning, Q. I saw you say good morning. You all share. If you have any questions for Jayla or for me throughout the broadcast this morning, make sure you pop into the comments and let us know what you're thinking and let us know what's going on. So Jayla, I know this is your first time on the show, right? However, there's a couple of things I do in the beginning of the show that I like to get us started and get us crunk, right? So the first one is I like for us to acknowledge that our breath is important. I like to take a breath, actually 3 breaths, and acknowledge that our life is important. Acknowledge that we are here, that we are blessed, despite what may have happened on yesterday. Today is a new day, and we want to be in the moment, right? Be in the moment and be present. We think sometimes that we go places and we do things, but we're not present, right? So we want to do that. So what I ask that you do is let's everybody shake it out, right? Shake it out. Get the thought process. Yeah, shake it out. I tell people sometimes do a little Tina Turner shoulder action, roll it. So what you want to do is loosen yourself up. And what we're going to do is take 3 breaths, right? And the first breath, I'm going to count it out. It's at a 5 pace, but it's a slower 5 pace than the normal count, right? The second breath, I won't count out, but I'll still do the hand movements. The third breath, we're going to make some noise when we release it, is what we're going to do. So when you make the noise, you let the universe know that you acknowledge what it is, and you're going to take care of it, and you are blessed, you are here, and all of that good stuff. That's the way I look at it, right? So what we're going to do is take the first breath, and on the first breath, I'm going to count to 3 and take a deep breath in, and we hold it for the 5 count, and then we'll do the 2 more breaths, and we'll go forward with that. All right. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I did count on the first breath because I wanted you to see what the pace was like. So on the second breath, I'm not going to count. Now, here's the thing. This is what I want to say to everybody. Everybody can't do the 5, right? But if you can do 3, if you can do 2, however long you can do, then that's for you. That's you acknowledging what's going on and so forth and so on. Okay, so that's what we want to do. All right. For the second breath, I'm not counting, but I will do the hand movements. All right. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, deep breath in. And out. So right now you should feel a little bit. You're waking up those cells and those neurons, and you're getting your frequency on. You should feel a little something. You shouldn't be holding your heart. Elizabeth, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be choking or spitting up or none of that kind of stuff, okay? It should be easy peasy, right? All right, the last breath, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take, and remember, at the end, we're going to make some noise. Now, I don't care what noise you make, how you make it, but if you're at a library or if you're at work, me and Jayla are not responsible if they come tap you on the shoulder and say you got to go, okay? We're not responsible. All right, on the last breath, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, deep breath in. And
hey,
yes,
hey.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, come on. That's what you do in the mornings. That's what, wake yourself up, get yourself up, make sure that you are good, make sure everything is great, make sure everything is happening.
Some really good news with a friend
of Uh-oh.
and encouraging.
There we go. My bad. I had hit the wrong button. So what we do is, good morning, Danita. What we do is we basically go ahead and do the breath in the morning. Now that we have gotten our morning vibe and our frequency, now it's time for us to groove. Now, y'all, Jayla may not know this, so I don't know how it's going to go, but Jayla, I want you to do whatever you feel you need to do this morning when we do this groove. Let me take a sip real quick.
Give me a sip.
Yeah. And I ask any of you out there that's viewing, that's watching, if you want to come along, come right on along and sing with us, groove with us, and do what we do. This is what we do in the mornings here on the Thought to Ponder. And I think I heard you say that you were ready. Jayla, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, then if you're ready, then let's go. Let's get it. Sit it ta 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 ta. Sit it ta 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 ta. Zoom ta ta doom doom ta doom doom ta ta doom doom ta doom doom ta ta doom doom ta doom T2P. Check me out. T2P. Check me out. Zoom ta ta doom doom ta doom doom ta ta doom doom ta doom doom ta ta doom doom ta doom T2P. Check me out. T2P. Check me out. T2P. Check me out. Rah. Yes, get you a little feel this morning. Get you a feel. It's so funny, Jayla, because people always say, well, why do you do that? Why don't you pre-record it? I like for it to be organic, right? I like for it to be organic for whoever it is, so forth and so on. But I am putting it down on the track though. So y'all watch, y'all be careful with that.
Copyrighted.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. So like, share. Make sure that you all are seeing the broadcast and you're sharing it with your people. So I want Jayla, if you would, to introduce yourself. And I know we did it in the beginning, but introduce yourself and tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself. And then what we'll do is we will watch your PSA, and then we'll talk about what the PSA means and so forth and so on.
All right. So about me, well, in the PSA, I said to this question, I said I'm a little bit of everything, and
Mm-hmm.
that is true. Um, I am on a journey to push myself to be as whole and complete and as free as possible. And
Come on.
so, with that, it means that I am doing a lot of work in the community. So, for my regular everyday job, I work with youth who are facing many challenges, but I teach them how to be empowered. I teach them how to live their life and seek independence through art and also through exercises, things like that. Beyond that, I also do work with the True Project. I'm a board member with the True Project.
Yeah.
Yes, where we believe in healing through the arts. See, I'm in the
Yeah.
connection that's there, right? And then
Indeed.
beyond that, I'm also a community board member with Saving Our Sisters United with Atlantis Capri, and that has been one of the areas of my life that has brought me some of the most joy and also the most growth at this phase of my journey. So yeah, I am doing work. I am here, and definitely looking forward to what the universe has in store for me in the future.
Yes, indeed. That part. That part. So tell me something. You mentioned that you work with youth. What is something that so I always say this, that sometimes we talk at our youth, right? Instead of figuring out what's going on with our youth. And it sounds so dated, right? But we know that there are issues and problems out there. What is one thing that you would tell your young self that, um, yeah, what's one thing that you would tell your young self, knowing what you know now? What would you tell your young self back then?
I imagine that moment being me walking down the street and
Uh-huh.
running into them. It would
Mm,
literally be me looking at them and saying, "Baby, live your life.
come on, come
Live
on.
your life. Accept who you are. Walking your journey. Don't be concerned about perfection or making other people happy. Just enjoy life. Live it to the fullest. Ride it
Hmm.
till the wheels fall off."
Okay. Okay, rock until the wheels fall off. That part. That part.
Mhm.
So I know that sometimes we we um we live and we grow and we do, and sometimes we don't know um how important it is. Now, you just said live your life, right? You just said um just be you. How important has that been for you along your journey,
Mhm.
along what you're doing now, along on you being who you are? How important was that for you?
So, as a black trans woman, um, right now at this point in my life, that's the lens I'm looking at everything through. And so, in relation to this question, I look at myself as someone who has adopted that mantra at the core of who I am,
Hmm.
living my life.
Right.
But that's not the totality of that advice for me. For me, it was live your life according to your truth and in seeking of truth and what that means for you. And
Mhm.
so in the process, I feel like I've always have been transitioning throughout my entire life.
Mhm.
Um, at I guess I would say like maybe around 5 or 6, transitioning wasn't about gender. It was about just accepting what I liked, and I knew at that point in time I liked other boys in a
Right.
way that was different than the other boys that I was hanging with.
Right.
Um, that was, I didn't know what that meant, but it was my truth in the moment. And I
Mhm.
didn't feel anything bad about it. It was other people who made me feel bad about it. And
Right.
after that process of going through all of that, as I have grown, there's been other moments in my life where I've had to face things like that. But in those times where I felt like I didn't know what to do, I feel like I knew what to do.
Right. Right.
The truth, whatever was true for me, that's what I did. Sometimes that meant losing people, sometimes that meant hurting people. But for me, I was honest and I was genuine with myself. And that means that I have lived my life with no regrets.
Right.
And that is the biggest blessing I have right now.
Indeed. I love it. I love it. I love the fact that you're open and honest about what it is. A lot of times when we get to our points on our journey, right? We get to destination A or destination B. We oftentimes say that we have this is where I started, right? This is where I'm at. So I don't want to talk about any of that stuff back there because it doesn't mean anything to me. And I was talking with someone the other day and I said, I have to know where I came from and acknowledge where I came from so that I can be present in the moment today, because a lot of what happened to me in my past is what shaped me into who I am today. Like you said I did what I knew to do, and that was to be me, to be open and honest, whatever that meant at that time. That's what that was. And I think sometimes we don't do that because society has told us that that's ugly and nasty and we should never revisit it. We should never like look at it. But in order for us to be sitting here today and having this type of conversation, we got to acknowledge what was and then what is like now. And I just want to applaud you for always being upfront. I didn't know um, that you were your journey like that until we started to dive into doing the PSAs and things like that. And I was like, wow, like this is something that a lot of people don't know. And then on top of that, you had best friends, allies that were there with you through it all, in a sense. And sometimes it was not easy for them to kind of understand where you were or what you were doing because they had blinders on. You mentioned Atlantis, and I said the same thing. I keep saying this because we had this conversation, and she was like, "No, Titan." And I was like, "No, Titan." I was like, "Yes, Atlantis." She was like, "No, Titan." So I think that it's great for that. So I just wanted to give you kudos and say thank you for being transparent and open enough to tell your story. Not only that, to reach somebody back there, reach somebody that's up in the nosebleed or somebody that's hiding in the dark corner saying, I can't do this because the people that are out here representing me don't look like me, right? Or don't do the same things that I do. Um, Let me ask you this. When we approached you about the PSA, what were your thoughts?
So the PSA for me, well, the second conversation about the PSA,
Mm.
and what that meant for me, talking about my friends and my best friends that have been in my life for, oh my God, for years. Um, it was challenging.
Mhm.
We are close, but at that particular time, while we were close, there was still things that I was not sharing with them.
Ah,
Um, they knew my transition, all of that. But there was still some things they couldn't understand about my life, and I wasn't sharing those moments and encouraging them to grow in that area, or even giving them the opportunity to grow in that area. Um,
mm,
I had went out and found other areas of support to support my life, other than the people I really wanted to be there to support me. But that comes from, for me, a place of, in my past, dealing with abandonment. I felt like, you know what? Maybe they can't love me. Maybe they can't
Right.
support me. Maybe they will never support me. Maybe they're incapable of supporting me. And creating that mentality in my head. And then what happens is when we do that, then our actions inadvertently creates what we were thinking and what we have fed ourselves.
Right.
And so I created that situation with them. When with talking to them about the PSA, that opened up conversation with us for healing. You can't heal what you don't acknowledge.
Come on.
So that was our process and our time for me to give them permission to hold me accountable.
Yes.
So it was about them telling me, it's not that we're not there for you. You don't give us the opportunity to be there for you. And I was
Mm.
like, ooh, that had hit us deep. And so I was like, okay, that means I have some growing to do. I have some healing to do. I have to be vulnerable. And at that time, dealing with abandonment, I felt like, and still dealing with it, to be honest, I felt like vulnerability was a weakness.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I'm still healing. I'm still in the process, but I'm choosing at this moment. I'm making a conscious choice not to view my vulnerableness as weakness.
Yes.
It is just what it is. But it's
Right.
something beautiful about being vulnerable, about being broken, and being honest about it and sharing it with
Right.
other people. We tell people all the time, you need to heal, you need to get better, push for the prize, have faith.
Mhm.
But a lot of times we don't know what the healing process looks like. There's
Yeah.
nobody that is open and honest in the process, letting you see them broken and hurt and the tears and all of that. And then also to see them go through it and what they are doing to get better. I think for me right now, the exercise in abandonment is
Mhm.
accepting others and allowing them to be there for me. And in the process, that means they get a chance to see the ugliness that exists.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's not a bad thing. Because
Yeah.
in the end, they get to see what comes out of this.
Right, right. And I so agree with you. And I so thank you for saying that. A lot of times we want to make it pretty, we want to gloss it over, we want to, just tell the good parts, but we don't want to tell somebody the ugly parts that sometimes I don't feel it. Sometimes I'm not good. Sometimes I am not in a place for you to be asking me 15 million hundred questions about something. I just want to be quiet, or I just want to be there, or I'm trying to battle with it in my own head, and I can't battle with you while I'm battling with it in my own head. So, but I think one thing that you said that was true to point was being transparent, right? Letting your friends know, or letting your loved ones know, or letting those people that are close to you know, look, hey, right now, I'm not for it, right? I'm gonna come to you in a minute, but right now, let me have my moment. Let me do what I do, and let me go forward. And that was one thing that you said about your best friends, or and I'm calling them allies, but they're your best friends. They've been there with you through thick and thin, and sometimes we don't necessarily understand that. So I want to say to all those people that are out there, and what Jayla just spoke of, is that sometimes you have to take a step back, right, and realize where you're at, so that not that you're compromising for them, but so that they can catch up to where you are and be kind of sort of on the same level that you're at. So what I want to do real quick, Jayla, is take a moment and play the first portion of your PSA, and so that people can get an idea of what you're speaking of, and then we'll come back and discuss that part of the PSA. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Danita. Good morning, Kimmy Dog. Good morning, Chris. Good morning to all of you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Here is the first part of the PSA.
All lives can't matter.
Until Black trans lives matter.
Not another hashtag.
Hi, I am Jayla Slyvester, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And a little bit about myself, I can't even think of anything. A little bit about me, I am a little bit of everything. That's the best way to describe me.
So, my name is Ryan Nixon, and I am a hospital administrator, well, a organ and tissue hospital administrator for certain hospitals in Houston, Texas.
So, my friendship with Ryan before my transition, wow, so many wonderful memories there.
I met Jayla about 13 years ago through a mutual friend that we both had at the time.
I actually transitioned twice. The first time I transitioned, I remember that time being very alone. I was trying to figure out this new part of myself after I had thought that I knew who I was.
As she told us she was transitioning, yes, it was a shock, but I let a day or two go by and I went back to normal and acted like nothing was happening. And it helped because she stopped talking about it. Like the transition was nothing we discussed.
So the reason why I stopped my transition the first time was because it was really hard always going to the mirror every day and looking in the mirror and seeing Jermaine. I had got comfortable in my skin as being this black gay man, and I knew who I was and what I represented to the community, and I thought that was the sum of who I was.
I believe it was around maybe May or before then, about 2 years ago. And I didn't find out until October, my birthday. She waited till we went on my birthday trip.
I didn't tell anybody. It was a time in my life where I held everything in and to myself. I just wanted to just explore myself and just be with me.
I remember we were in Atlanta. We were in Atlanta. We were at Bulldogs. And we were having a good time. It was like, 6 months had passed and we weren't not close at all. We were just acting like everything was normal.
I figured that one night at a bar, I was like, I'm going to tell my friends. Like, this is the time to tell them.
And at Bulldogs in the back on the patio is when she just said I have a confession to make and told me that she was transitioning.
Either one of two things would have happened. Either it would have, in my mind, either it would have been, oh, okay, well, this is nothing new, we kind of expected this. Or it would have been like, oh, wow, this is a great opportunity. Like, this is really good for you. I'm glad that you had this discovery. That was the only two things I was thinking of.
And I'm embarrassed to say this, I just broke down and bawled like a baby on the patio.
Hey. So I have a second clip, and we'll watch that just a little bit later. But what do you think about that? When you look at that, right? And I saw that you were smiling and laughing at certain points. What do you think about that? Like, how does that make you feel?
It's a mix of emotions. On one hand, thinking about my initial transition, although I have been transitioning my entire life, coming into the realization of who I was as a Black trans woman. Like I said, following my truth, I didn't understand what was going on. I just knew I was not comfortable in men's clothing. I knew I liked wearing makeup every day. I liked walking through the world as a woman and people saying she and her and ma'am. There were things that was happening and I didn't understand. I didn't have language to describe how I was feeling. I didn't know. And it was just very lonesome in that process. And like he said in the video, when I told him, he broke down. I wasn't prepared for that. I stepped out of myself and stepped away from this process of transitioning. And all I knew to do was to be there for my friend. And that's what I did. And in the process, I stopped talking about my transition. And there was some, I guess, a sense of darkness that started to kind of seep in. And then I faced dysphoria for the first time. Dysphoria is basically like seeing something that other people may or may not see that has a negative effect on who you are as a person. And so when I would get up in the morning to get ready for work, I worked for Sephora, which meant having to wear makeup every day, having to shave and look at my face without my makeup was creating stress for me. Coming home from work, being in my makeup and seeing my face and thinking I'm beautiful and having to take that off and to see what was beneath. At the time, I didn't like what I saw. And that was just a whole process to deal with. But at another part of the process with Ryan and with my best friends is seeing the come around to the other side. Seeing them want to be there and to support me and to love me. That brings the joy and has been a major part of my transition and in me developing into a full being and a full person.
Would you say that someone asked this question, and just you let me know if this is invasive or would you say there's only one way to transition?
There's definitely not one way to transition. I have, like, even for me, I hear so many trans people tell the story of how they always knew that they were born and they just knew that they were a woman. They knew that there was something different gender-wise with them. I don't share that same story. For me, it was an evolution of constantly chasing after my truth. And even after I thought I came to the conclusion of who I was like, I'm good. I am a Black gay man. I'm living my life. Hooray. And then all of a sudden, I started having these dreams, these intense dreams that did not go away. It was every night for an entire week. I saw myself in the dream as a woman, and I didn't understand. I was like, something's going on. I don't know what this is. And starting to do research and looking up what trans meant and finding videos on YouTube of girls who had transitioned and seeing them medically transitioning and seeing their 1 month, their 3 month, their 5 month, their first year taking hormones. That excited me. And I was like, I feel right. Like, this is where my life is leading me. And I was scared, but I knew that I'm like, if I'm going to follow my truth, this is where it's taking me. I don't know what this is going to mean, but I need to do this. And I did it alone. But doing things alone of that magnitude can be a setup for failure. When dealing with the dysphoria, there was nobody to turn to say, hey, I'm going through this and I'm experiencing this. And for them to then turn around to me and say, no, you're beautiful. Keep living your truth. I didn't have that support system there. And so what happened was I took a year off from transitioning. I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm detransition. I'm going to go back to living my life as Jermaine at the time. And I'm going to live my life as that. That year, I thought I could go back to being happy little Jermaine. That did not happen. For a year, I was depressed. I didn't take pictures. I hated it. I was in agony that entire year. But on the outside, everybody was like, they just saw me smiling. They saw me being happy and all of this. But inside, I was a wreck. It got to a point I didn't have a choice. I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I have to go back to being Jayla. I have to go back to being me. And this time, I am not turning back. So I went out and started seeking support. I started finding support systems. That was not my best friends at the time. That was strangers who were on the journey as well, who were pushing themselves and gave me permission to explore my gender.
Mhm.
It started with they, them pronouns. I wasn't comfortable yet being in public and hearing she, her.
Right.
And what that meant for me, it meant me being honest about who I was. And I'm like, I'm not quite ready for that yet.
Indeed.
But eventually somebody was like, you can go by she, her pronouns and explore and see what that means for you and see how you feel. And if you don't like it, you could change it. And I was like, okay. And after I did it, it felt
Right.
good. It felt
Exactly.
good. And so I was like, okay, this is not changing. Then I started seeking out a name. Once I had a name, I gave birth to the person I was inside.
Right.
Um, Once they were born, it was an outward appearance. It was a change in my energy. When I went into places and I would go into the men's bathroom, people would walk in and say, "You're in the wrong bathroom." And that was before taking hormones and things
Wow.
like that.
Right.
It's the shift in my energy.
Gotcha.
Um, and I was like, whoa, this is a transformation. I was I was breaking out of that cocoon and becoming the butterfly I was always meant to be. And so
I
yeah,
love it. I love it. I love it. Amelia says, I'm saying that right, correctly, right? Amelia Black. Okay. Amelia Black says there are some trans people who transition who never touch hormones or get surgery. They self-identify and transition internally. And I agree with that. I've had conversations with Jayla and some of our other trans sisters and brothers, and I didn't understand that in the beginning. But as Jayla just stated, it's something that happens more often than not because we think it's the outer part that really you transition with when you're going, hormones and surgeries and things like that. But internally, as you just stated, that's where you are transitioning because you just said that your whole spirit, your whole aura, it's shifted, right? And so this leads me to my next question. I often talk um, with people in the community, right? Um, and we often talk about the fact that there's really not support in the community. I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm saying this was part of the conversation. And I'm not saying it to you, Jayla. I'm saying it to everybody else that's going to try to pick me apart for saying what I'm about to say. But a lot of times you hear that there's not support in the community. But you just said that you went out and got support from people that were going through the same thing that you were going through, the transition, the thought process, things like that. Is that still the case in point now? Is it a hidden tribe of people, meaning supporters and those that are there to help, family that are out there that we just don't know about? Or is there something that you have to do yourself when you're going through your process or your transition or your journey?
it is out there. I'm reminded of a quote. I forget who said it, but I learned it when I was in cosmetology school. The quote says, "Ignorance in the age of technology is bliss."
Okay.
So we
Uh,
all have this. We all have
right.
cell phones. This thing holds all type of information.
Mhm.
If you want something, you can find it, but you
Right.
have to want it, and you have to go in search of it.
Right.
And so for me,
Come on.
in the
Come on.
seeking of support,
Right.
um, I had to type in support groups, trans support groups. What does this look like in Houston?
Right.
Um, a lot of them popped up, and I was one particular popped up. It's at the Montrose Center. It's called Trans Fabulous. Um, what was unique about it was, although it was a space for trans people, it was a space for people that was on all parts of the gender binary and people that were off the gender binary.
Right.
Um, and in the space, they gave us the opportunity to try out different pronouns, try out different names. One week I could come and be they, them, and be Sheila. Next week I could come and be she, her, and be Mary, whatever.
Right.
They
Right.
and they respected it. whatever you said at the beginning of that group, that is that is who you were. And also it like being in that space of support and them and hearing, like, for the first year I was quiet in the support group. I never said anything, but I was listening to the stories of people who were on their journey and who were overcoming things in life, as it related to their journey. And it was encouraging me. And finally, when I got to the part where I was encouraged enough, I began to share. And that is when Jayla really started to walk. She wasn't crawling anymore. She was starting to walk. And the only thing was, the group dealt with gender. I am a Black trans woman, Black, and the Blackness is a part of me. It has been with me since birth. It informs all of my life. It is the intersection that I live at, and that was something I was missing. And what happened was there was other Black support groups, but they were for Black trans women, and I wasn't yet at a place to own being a trans woman yet. So those spaces were for Black trans women to explore what that meant for them and move forward. I was not yet welcome in that space yet. And so once I grew to the place where I needed to be, I could then go into those spaces and then explore what it meant for being Black and trans.
Right. It's always good to speak to someone that's transparent about what it is that they're going through, right? Because at some point, I know that it was hard for you to be transparent. As you stated, you had to get to that point to be on the forefront. But just listening to you now, sometimes we don't know, right? We don't know what that means. And not everybody is the same. I can be a part of this community and still be different in my journey and my process and my transition and things like that. So it just kind of took me to a moment where there came a point where I had to say, okay, look, this is who I am, right? So something that you just mentioned about your Blackness, right? I when I first started down this journey of being transparent and being clear, the question was always, was it gay or was it Black first, right? And it was always that. And I bill myself as a gay Black man, a Black gay man who's HIV positive. And people would always say, well, why you always say Black? And I said, because growing up, it wasn't my gayness that was seen first, right? Now, this is just me, right? Not for everybody. It was my Blackness. All the way up till I went in the military. Even in the military, it was my Blackness, right? Because I hid for so long my gayness, but my Blackness always stood. Whenever I would walk into a store or walk by somebody Caucasian, they would grab their purse, they would tense up, they would do that. It was my Blackness, right? Not negating the fact that I'm gay, because I'm gay all day long, every day. Like, that's just what it is. But what you just said made sense. I had to understand that my Blackness informs all of my life, right? And then when I go into spaces and places, right, normally what I'm there for is secondary. How I show up, right, is the primary thing that they see. And we would love to say, and Jayla, you can speak on this if you want. We love to say that appearance doesn't matter. We love to say that the physical part does not matter. But we know in this society that what you look like on the outside informs a lot about how you're treated in society and things like that. If you could, Jayla, or if you would, tell us what needs to change about that. And is it something that we see can change in the near future?
For me, with society, I have always been a person who has challenged the status quo or what the norms were. Um, my walk and my journey and owning my truth always meant that I was never quote unquote normal. I was
Mhm.
normal to me, but to
Right.
everybody else, there was something different about me, and difference equaled fear, or it equaled hatred, or all kind of mixed emotions for them.
Mm.
Um, so the biggest thing for me is I want people to be able to step beyond what they know, because a lot of times the things that we know are things that have been taught to us from people who have been indoctrinated and are living according to tradition and the way things have always have been. Just because something exists because that's the way it's always been does not make it right.
Right.
um, as we are progressing through time and we are progressing through knowledge, we're growing, we're expanding as a people, as a community, as a culture. We have to go back and look at what those constructs were and to say, does this make sense? Does it fit? Is it fair? Is it whole and healthy for me and for everybody else? Um, for some people, the social constructs and the way things have always been
Yes.
benefits them because they have privilege. But for the rest of us, we are still pushing the envelope and saying there is a greater sense of equality, there's a greater sense of fairness, there's a greater
Mhm.
sense of acceptance and unity. And if you would just see things, just take a walk in my shoes or look through my eyes, you could see a community and a world where we are more unified and more powerful, not only as a people, but as a culture, as a family, as a society. And so I want people to be able to step away from those things and challenge what they know, and to be able to try new things, and sometimes you just got to step out of what you know and go get amongst some people that are not like you. You might find things that you don't like and figure that that does not work for me, but it works for them. You might find things that you like. You never know until you do it.
Yes. Okay, so look, Jayla, look. I don't need to be up here dancing no because you almost made me shout just now. Like it kills me that we are so not, and I say we, I mean as a world, as a society, as a country, we're so close-minded to change. We're so close-minded to open thought process. We're so close-minded to we are humans. We are somebody's children. We are somebody's brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins. We are human. Like this, it kills me. I had a conversation with someone, and they were talking about because they saw the billboard, and I want to touch on the billboard really quick. So
Mhm.
um they saw the billboard and they were saying things like, well, if they wouldn't do this or if they wouldn't do that and da 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 da. And I said, well, hold on, bruh, you gay, you a gay black man. I said, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I say this in all sincerity to this person because I've known them for 15 plus years, and I never knew that they thought like that, right? And so I told them, I said, but it's the same thing that you're doing, pretending to be a man's man, but you're out here doing everything that a gay man does in the cloak of night. Okay, okay. And I said, so you're telling me that because she wants to stand in her truth and be who she is, and you can't even do that to even begin to be who you are, she's wrong and you're right. I said, but see, that's that doctrine, that's that hierarchy, that's that privilege that people have for generations and generations passed down, to where that's wrong, that's not right, but you're doing the same exact thing. And I was really shocked that it was coming from somebody from our own community, right? For you to see the billboard, or for you to see a beacon, right, or something like that, Is it something that you thought? Okay, so let's be transparent because they sent me questions. They sent me questions, right? And I'm trying to like sugarcoat the questions, right? But let me just be transparent.
Be transparent.
Be transparent. Do you feel the billboard was needed? Do you feel that it is?
Definitely needed.
Yes.
Definitely needed.
Okay.
We have to create so you have no Pose said this, the show Pose. Mm-hmm. You don't get the protection that you need as long as you're living in the shadows. And for me, I'm not living in the shadows. I am relegated to the shadows by the oppressive or the society that exists on the majority. Mm-hmm. They want to push me to the shadows and act like I don't exist.
Right.
The billboard is that call to action, like, hey, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
The billboard was clear: protect Black trans women. Mm-hmm. And so then that means that the people that are seeing it that may disagree have to question themselves about, what does that mean, protect Black trans women?
Right.
What does that mean? Does that mean that now they're going to start asking for equal rights? That now they're going to start coming out more out of the quote unquote shadows and living their life and their truth and their honesty? What does that mean for my child who sees this billboard, who now most of the time with parents, they see things that already exist and they just pretend it's not there.
Right.
In the back of their head, they're looking at their child and saying, my child might be gay or my child might be trans. Mm-hmm. Them seeing this is promoting the ideal that it is okay for them to be them. And it is okay for them to be them. And as a parent, as society, we should make it okay for people to be themselves. Why would we want a society of people who have to be pretending to be something else and walking through life that way? Hurt people.
Yes.
So if you're bringing up a generation of hurt people who have to hide and pretend to be something that they're not, how do you think that affects relationships? How do you think that affects our culture, our society, our family structures? Because if these people are pretending, you're saying you don't want these DL men and all of these type of things, but you're creating the perfect storm for them to exist.
Exactly.
And so it's like, what do you want us to do as a society and a culture of LGBT plus people? What do you want us to do? So, and then in relation to like Black Lives Matter and things like that, we're all calling for equal rights. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to just not be a part of the movement?
Right.
Even though we started the movement?
Right.
Right. Do you want us to be a part of the movement? Do you want us to create a whole separate movement? We've tried that and it has not worked. Right. We tried that with the gay rights movement and they have pushed us to the side. We tried that with the women's suffrage movements. They've pushed us to the side. Now there is this renewed sense of a Black rights movement and what that means for us. And we're like, hey, we're here, we exist.
Right.
We're not going to sit here and wait again. Exactly. Especially now. I have to say this is so important. Right now, where we are in the year, being in August, this year alone, up until this point, we've lost more Black trans women than we did in all of last year.
Oh, wow. Wow.
We're already at that point, and we still have so much more of the year to go.
Right.
And although there's so much to what it means being Black and trans, there's so many great and wonderful things about owning who you are and accepting who you are, but there's also a danger that exists.
Yes.
And having to walk that razor's edge every day, like walking outside of your door, being who you are, being public about who you are, and daring to say, I deserve recognition and I deserve respect. That places a target on you. But I am the type of person to believe that there has to be somebody that speaks up. There has to be somebody that is pushing for everybody.
Right.
Sometimes there are many times where I am that person that is speaking. There are times when I am the person that is too hurt, too abused, too abandoned to be there to speak. And that's where my best friends, the allies, and what I call assassins, that is the time for them to step up and be that for us.
Right.
But I've learned one thing from Atlantis is that you cannot be there for somebody if you don't understand them or you don't know what they're going through. You can't. It's impossible. You only serving lip service.
Yeah.
And so there's one thing for me to tell people about what I'm going through. And they're like, oh, okay, I hear you. It's another thing for you to walk with me and to see it and experience it with me.
Right.
If I can tell you about my pain and you can feel it, you can see it, you can understand it on a deeper level, that's going to empower you to go and step into places and speak up. Silence equals death. Now we use that saying a lot in the movement of trying to get care and things for people who were HIV positive. Of silence equals death. We're in the same thing now as Black trans people, and so that means trans women, trans men.
Amen.
We cannot be silent anymore.
We cannot. And I hate to like run Jayla. But I want to thank you for coming on and being transparent. And I want to thank you for what you just stated just now. We can no longer be silent. We are out there as a community. We're out there to help. I've had the conversation with you. I have the conversations with a couple of other of our trans sisters and brothers. And what we want to do with the Trans Ally Collective, and this is for those of you who are out there, those of you who want to be an ally or want to know about being an ally, we started this project and we just want you to know that you can be an ally, right? That it's not hard to do, but like Jayla said, sometimes you're just doing lip service, right? You don't know what they're going through in that aspect. So why don't you take a step back and why don't you know? I always say this all the time. We would show up to protect y'all, but we didn't ask y'all how, right? We didn't ask for permission. We didn't ask for consent. We just showed up and started doing whatever we was going to do. So that's what the Trans Ally Collective is for. So I want to thank Jayla for coming on today. I want to thank her for the PSA. I'm going to play the last part of the PSA on our way out. Jayla, tell everybody how they can contact you if they would like to, and give your social media tags if you want to do that. And then also, what is your final thought for, I know you've said a lot and I've wanted to like do my little dance, but what's your final thought with the billboard, the PSA, with you being in the forefront? What's your final thought for somebody out there that's listening, that's looking for what it is that you represent?
Okay. I'll start with how you can contact me and all of that. The best way to do that, I'm pretty active on social media, so you can find me on Instagram. I am Soulfully Mixed on Instagram. On Facebook, you can find me. My name is Jayla Slyvester. If you find your way to this, then I'm sure that there was a post with my name on it. So definitely just search and find me, add me. If I don't add you back right away, send me a message and let me know, hey, I'm not a stalker, add me. And I will do that. Final thoughts. I want to say that I'm not remiss that for people that are allies or that want to be allies, that want to show up for Black trans women and for Black trans men, I'm not remiss of what that means for you, right? Because it is a struggle to then walk in somebody else's shoes and to learn the stories. It is a process. It is a steady process. And it also means that you have to go through your own transformation. And that may mean some people in your life walking away. That may mean some trials, some tribulations. But that's a part of the process of growth. That's a
Indeed.
part of the process of showing up and being there for somebody else. Is
Indeed.
walking in their shoes and being a part of the pain. But then also, if you stay around long enough, if you just stick around long enough, you will be there to also celebrate the joys and the things that comes along with life as
Come
well.
on. Come
And
on.
I feel like as a trans person, I am constantly pushing and telling people to expand who they are. So I hope that as allies, that they get that impression from me and from other trans people that it's okay to explore all of who you are and what that means for you, and the joy of that and the freedom of that, of being able to walk in your own truth, whatever that may mean. And so, yeah, that's the message I definitely want to send out.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jayla. I will most definitely have Jayla back on, right? We both have these busy schedules, but I will most definitely have Jayla back on because Jayla dropped some gems today, and then have her back on to have just a candid conversation about what's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, please understand that we're doing this because it's needed. If it wasn't a need for the billboard wouldn't be here. If it wasn't a need for Jayla to be upfront and transparent and be on this PSA, she wouldn't have done it. So there's a need there for that. Again, Jayla, I want to thank you. I appreciate you. I love you for what you're doing and for what you represent for people that are already in the journey or in their transition, and for those that haven't started that journey, or for those that are thinking about that. I think it's so important for us to have representation on all levels and all the way across the spectrum. And I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. What I'm going to do is play the last part of the PSA on the way out. But ladies and gentlemen, y'all contact Jayla if needed. Go to the TransAllyCollective.org. It's a budding website. We're growing. We have verbiage. We have definitions. We have everything that it will be, everything that you want to know about being there for our trans sisters and brothers. I know that we just started with our trans sisters, but it is the TransAllyCollective.org. Go over, see how you can help, see how you can donate, see how you can become a part of the movement and going forward. I know that was a long explanation, but thank you so much, Jayla. I appreciate you. I love you for what you're doing. And she'll be back on something. Look, I didn't already said it. So let me add, Jayla, would you be willing to come back on? Look, I'm talking about consent. I had just already said.
So, you know, all you got to do is call me, text me, send me a message. I am here.
Indeed, indeed. All right, Jayla, thank you so much. And this is the second part of the PSA, ladies and gentlemen. Go on to the Normal Anomaly, the TransAllyCollective.org. You can come here to the Thought to Ponder. You can contact Jayla. You see all those avenues we have, all of that stuff. So let's not let this just die down, right? Let's not let it be just another hashtag. Let us keep the movement going and keeping our stories on the forefront and our lives on the forefront, in the sense of that there's somebody out there just like me and Jayla that's looking for somebody that looks like me and Jayla, or does or moves the way that we move, and they are looking for that light or that open door. And sometimes we hold the key because we've been there, we've done it, we're going through it. We may still be in it, but we have a better perspective and understanding of where we stand and who we are than we did 10, 15 years ago. So I can't stress that enough. But enough about that. I'm going to go ahead and play that. And Jayla, I will see you next time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That particular space of remembering that moment, I stepped away from Jayla. She didn't even have a name yet. I stepped away from that person and stepped into my space of, this is my friend and I need to take care of this moment. And I remember just saying, it's all right, it's gonna be okay, it's okay, nothing's really gonna change. I I didn't realize that everything would change.
So honestly, when you told me about your transition and the difficulties that went through with it, I did not know how to support you at all. Like I had no idea how to be an ally for a trans person. I mean, because clearly it was new.
As you're transitioning, I think it's a transition for us as well, because when you told us that you were transitioning, it just opened like this whole other door, this whole other world for us, because I knew bare minimum of trans anything.
Allyship to me means, in light of our friendship, it's just being there. And that's something I've never doubted from you. Allyship also means that things are new and things are different. And I'm reminded of a quote that said, change is good.
We're always changing, and I'm like, okay, this is a change, and I'm here for it, so let's do it.
To me, to be an ally to the trans community, supportive, especially if you have a trans friend. To sum it up for me, I would say support and security. My personal relationship with Jayla, or the way in which I transitioned with her, it wasn't the best. I was not as supportive as I should have been the first time that she transitioned.
I'm speaking out a lot more about trans issues, what I can do and what other people can do, because, it's a whole lot of stuff going on that people are not aware of, and, I have to do my part.
I would say if you're personally going through a transition with someone, just be there. Support them as best you can. Ask them questions, check on them daily. And you're not always going to understand everything that they're telling you, everything that they're going through. There's no way that you can understand it because you literally have to walk in their shoes.
And so, in this process, there's a lot more of myself I can offer to our friendship. And with that also means that there's new challenges that we'll face. But with all challenges that we face as a group, we've always gotten through it together. And I don't think that will ever change.
All Black lives can't matter until Black trans lives matter. Not another hashtag.